Welcome back, my friends, to Can't Stop Snapping, episode 72. This is continuing the discussion that me and Brad have been having on the latest OTA. We are both in love with these changes. And in this part of the discussion, we want to focus on the unloved cards that got surprisingly elevated to incredible potential here. And the theory crafting that we can have, what is going to be on the rise in the meta. I think that, for the completeness sake, we're seeing the fastest time for any card to get buffed, Phoenix Force, Brad. From 5/6 to 4/5. How excited are you for this? Because I like the change, but I don't think it actually changes how I build the deck.
So that's the thing. Like the deck building for this card is going to mostly stay the same, right? You're probably going to want to include Shuri for those games where you have the opportunity to. You might be doing that Red Skull package kind of thing if you want to go in that route, or if you're going all in. I think most of the deck builds stay the same as what we've established already. However, presenting a better curve for the deck, being able to go, turn one, whatever, turn two, multiple man, turn three, Venom or Carnage or any of your destroy stuff, right? And then turn four Phoenix right off the bat and give yourself multiple turns to go back and forth, and just leave a trail of multiple men everywhere. That is incredibly powerful in my mind. And this also goes in hand with the Ghost Spider buff and being able to sneak in a Ghost Spider a lot easier as a 1/2 to help move around multiple mana. Because now, like next turn on 5, you could potentially go move Ghost Spider, play something else, whatever, and then just have the opportunity to do more finagling like that. So I think this does make a pretty large impact overall.
Yes, and I'm so glad, because I didn't realize how little I liked Phoenix Force until the weekend mission came around and I had to play the 15 games with Phoenix Force. I was like, oh, make it stop, go play the free-to-play where I don't own it so I could do something else, please. I actually hated having to do those 15 games. I got beaten over and over again. I'm like, guys, just take it easy. I'm getting my weekend missions done.
Do you want to know a secret, Teddy?
What's this? You just throw it in whatever deck that's competitive.
Or you just don't do it. You just don't do it. You just don't.
Man,
you don't care.
To the grind.
I'll give you an example.
All of those missions.
Yeah, the Patriot one, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do that for shit. I said, fuck off. No, thank you. I don't like Patriot decks. I don't like playing them. I don't like playing against them. Yeah. I cannot stand that deck, especially now that it has the Iron Lad stuff going on in it, which I think it's a good deck. Don't get me wrong. I've played it with that current build. I think it is very good. I don't like feeling like I gotta start playing Enchantress again. Like I don't want to do that. I want to play more fun things. Though I will argue, being able to say, because Enchantress's stock has gone down so much, right? So being able to be like, yo, cool, here's an Enchantress, buy Patriot player, that feels very good. I'm gonna be honest.
Yes, it feels incredible when that Iron Lad version is less likely to run the Invisible Woman, Patriot, Ultron party bus.
I think they still do. I think they still run all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
which, if they had the Invisible Woman, they have it, whatever. Like, okay, get fucked, I guess. But they're not always going to have it.
Man. But yeah, so the Phoenix Force coming down to 4/5. The big winner is Multiple Man, right? Because then Multiple Man stays underneath Shang-Chi range for the entire time. If that's how you read the matchup in Conquest, that they are running the Shang-Chi, so you need that protection. If you get the read in the Conquest matchup that they're not, you just go crazy on the buffs, whatever you can there. And the Ghost Spider change here, loving it. Another recent Battle Pass card getting the buff. They keep on edging move up. They're like, move, please do something. And I just don't know if it will. Like, I think Ghost Spider is a great card. She already was good for move. Now she's good in so many more places. The one cost is so easy to be able to fit in. I think this even births or rebirths a move bounce hybrid deck, because you get the synergy with Falcon. It's very easy to be able to combo this with some of the other very cheap move enablers or engine pieces, and you could see a lot of power out of the Human Torch and even Dagger.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting ways to go about building this deck in terms of maybe encouraging you to run it into more traditional move decks with that little destroy package. I still am skeptical on targeting Human Torch. I know it's so powerful, right? To be able to Phoenix Force the Human Torch and be like, okay, double. But in the back of my mind, the entire time I'm doing that, I'm like, they have the Killmonger, don't they? And it's even worse when you go against a deck where you know they run Killmonger, like another Destroy deck, for example, especially if they're running like the Deadpool version. Or like my favorite is when I'm seeing any deck ever, and then all of a sudden you see a Nova appear, and you're like, oh fuck, oh shit.
Human Torch is not points for me.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm constantly checking their deck size. I'm like, oh fuck, oh god, they have one card. There's no way that one card is Killmonger. No shot.
You don't really have space to run armor yourself for protection, or do you necessarily want to slow yourself down? I don't know. It's so hard to The Human Torch tech is really challenging. Would you run Dagger instead of Human Torch then?
I mean, that's still very powerful, especially in the meta we're heading towards, with Thanos being a lot more prevalent thanks to Jean Grey and some ongoing synergies in that regard. So we're not seeing the death version of Thanos much, so there's not much worry in that matchup, I guess, already to be soft to a Human Torch. But even if they do run the death version and you're going with a card like Dagger, you still have plenty of opportunities before they start eating all their stuff to kind of zigzag back and forth and target these large lanes. So, and even if you're only hitting one at a time, +2 a turn is absolutely nothing to scoff at, especially if you're trying to go into like things like, I mean, that would think of a different build in general. Like maybe you're going turn 1 like Sunspot, and then on like turn 4, you play that. Turn 5, you float, just do your moving around thing. Turn 6, Taskmaster after another move. Like I think that could be a way to go about it.
Yeah, I feel like the Human Torch will run Zola. They'll move double and then Zola into 2 lanes. You could do that with the Dagger as well.
True.
She probably doesn't have the same ceiling, but she is so much more reliable when she can kind of dodge Shang-Chi and then be invulnerable to Killmonger, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. So I think that's man, I'm really hoping this deck takes off to an extent of being like a meta viable deck. I think it was really close already. Yeah. So I'm hoping this pushes it over to that little knob, right in the right direction. So I think it's a really cool deck. I think it's a very unique deck. I don't feel like it's like a very non-tilting deck. I think I could be speaking for a lot of people in this way, or like where I shouldn't be. But I don't know how you feel. Like, do you feel that this deck has any potential to make you upset at the game? Do you ever feel like oh, of course they have the Phoenix or whatever? I don't know.
It's a little bit like playing solo. There are ways for your opponent to interact with you, but if you hit the ceiling, you do incredibly well. I'm going to share an image with you on Discord if you want to throw this in the podcast or whatever form. You do with this what you will, is what I will say. I ran my new Living Tribunal deck up against the opponent's new juiced up Phoenix Force deck. And I ran Magik. So I want to kind of broaden the discussion here as, does Phoenix Force want to run Magik to be able to give you more consistency and more high end? You're about to see a beautiful board, Brad. The beautiful board is
fucking stacked. Holy shit.
9 multiple men that are significantly buffed. My opponent put up 32, 25, 35. They lost to my Living Tribunal, though. But just like taking I high rolled them with the Living Tribunal, right?
You did. Yeah, you got the nuts.
I was sitting on the nuts. Well, I also had a flawless victory. I hit the nuts every time. I think Living Tribunal is actually insane. I think he could be an A-tier deck. I'm getting echoes of Shuri, of like it's consistent and unstoppable because you can run Invisible Woman and Cosmo in it. So I'm really scared about what Living Tribunal could actually do. But just looking at what the opponent did here, against other decks, this is a winning scenario. So do they want to run Magik? If you play Magik 3 or 4, I feel like you can still get the combos together. I don't know. It's tough because then it's competing with when you're destroying your multiple man.
Well, no, I don't think it's that big of a deal because, like, let's say
you played on 5. Because you get Phoenix Force on 4, and then you're busy moving it on 5, and so then you play a moving card like Ghost Spider or Iron Fist, and then you play the Magik on 5, right?
Yeah, or if you see a line in which you are like you have a hand where you have Magik, multiple man, and like Carnage, you just don't play them on 2 to avoid a potential Cosmo or armor in that lane of multiple man, and then say, okay, we're gonna Magik, and then we're gonna on turn 4 multiple man Carnage immediately, and then that's fine. I'll take that one turn off from being able to move stuff, but I'll still be able to essentially net a similar advantage in that regard for the later turns. So. Yeah, I think you can still have really good curves.
I I think getting the extra turn to move around or getting the extra turn to draw Phoenix Force, because
Yes,
everything hinges around the Phoenix Force. I think that's where Magik could actually be very beneficial for this deck, because obviously the ceiling for the deck is close to or above the other decks right now. And so being able to hit that ceiling more consistently is like, you should always push for that.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned this about Living Tribunal, and I guess we can touch on that now.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Living Tribunal is a 6/9, no longer a 6/6. That is the change.
Lord help us.
The dev said that it's essentially a +1, basically, when it comes to Living Tribunal, and the way that the math works.
It is not. It is more.
Let me ask you this. You said that you're worried about Living Tribunal being potentially the next Shuri because of the way that it plays. It has similar, airs of that.
It's a wombo combo behind Cosmo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible? Okay, now hear me out. Is it possible this is one of those things in which Living Tribunal wasn't so bad after all, and all it takes was a little nudge in the direction of maybe you should try playing this for people to realize the potential that this tech has.
It was the elbow coming off of the top rung with +3 power. Play this.
Yeah,
that's the nudge. I actually think it could be yes. The thing is that this deck it's kind of like its power is kind of like the old ongoing destroyer. It's set. It's capped.
Yeah.
And so that caps relative power to everything else in the meta just determines everything for it. A couple points up, a couple points down. I remember playing ongoing destroyer versus ongoing destroyer mirrors. We would tie very consistently because we both just did our points. And so I think before he was just too low to really see the same play. I know that I made this joke in my video. In ranked, there were already some decks that were doing well because it was a surprise tech. You would drop it down. Your opponent would be so shocked that someone else was running Living Tribunal that they would let go of their phone as their $1,000 piece of hardware shattered on the bathroom tile. They would disconnect and you would win a couple cubes from them. But in Conquest, it was really not viable because the opponent could understand just stack the 2 lanes if he sets it up for it. But I saw especially Binks, I think, had a video with pretty good win rate on a Living Tribunal deck. I could definitely see this being the arrow or the leader treatment that was it was unused, buffed, specifically arrow, right? She got buffed, suddenly was everywhere, was overpowered, and then they bring it back down. But then we get into a discussion that you love is 8 or 9 better?
That's also tough. Now, I mean, to be fair, you're saying that this deck works great with Cosmo. I will say that I am 50-50 on that. My reasoning being because I feel like you are encouraged to run Iron Lad in this list to be able to high roll into Onslaught when you don't draw it, or Living Tribunal himself, that kind of thing. So maybe that makes for those games where you don't want to drop Cosmo a bit awkward. Because if you're trying to hit, Iron Man or Onslaught or whatever, you want them to be in the same lane, you can't Cosmo. But
yeah, my deck does not run Iron Lad. What I'm using is the Jubilee and the Magik to be able to thin the deck, so I will consistently only have 1 card left in deck by the end of the game, and that means I'm hitting my combo very consistently, even without Iron Lad. Iron Lad would be yet another consistency factor. I just feel like Cosmo is that important that he's actually better than Lad.
I also run Cosmo in mine.
Okay.
I run both. I'm just saying that
you're just ready to adapt on the matchup of
exactly.
Do I lean into one or the other? I got you.
Yeah. I can tell you I'm not running the Ant-Man Invisible Woman. I'm actually running Zabu in mine because I'm running the Iron Lad to be able to hit those early hits, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, to go to your original question about what's better, 9 or 8. Well, are you asking from the perspective of me being the Living Tribunal player or the meta as a whole?
Yeah, because I think it's pretty easy to say that 9 is better for Tribunal that wants Iron Man and Cosmo synergies, but then meta as a whole gets way more interesting.
I think it's better for the meta that it's at 9 because at least it can be susceptible to Shang-Chi in those matchups, especially within a Conquest environment where it's hey, you got to have Cosmo. If you don't have Cosmo, you don't have the nuts for that. It sucks to suck, I guess, right?
Or the Invisible Woman, but they could counter with their own or their what have you.
Yeah. So... And maybe Echo can really shine now.
Echo 100. So yes, this deck dies to Echo and it dies to
Enchantress. Oh, that too.
Those are the two. I think you have the tools with Invisible Woman and Cosmo to not care about Enchantress, hopefully. If they're layering Enchantress and Rogue, then they can get you. But that's like really.
But then they need to run both Enchantress and Rogue, and how often do you see that?
That's like too much for nobody's running that right now. So that was Shuri existed before Negasonic was big, and also before Echo was anywhere. Like if Echo and Negasonic were in the meta when Shuri was there, I don't know, because they just throw out Cosmo and then you can probably dodge. Like for the Shuri's case, you could probably dodge the Echo negating
I think so too.
But in this one, because you're building all ongoing
Echo would
effects,
just make them better, because now they can just be like, well, I can play in the Echo lane and I don't have to worry about silencing my Red Skull now. So yeah.
Yeah. But for this one, because you're building it's an ongoing wombo combo. The Echo comes out on your, Invisible Woman. As soon as they see your Cosmo, if they understand that's what you're doing in Conquest, you are cooked. No shot.
But then again, they have to be running both Echo and Negasonic, which again are two cards that are not seeing a lot of play. One, Echo being so new, but also having pretty poor reviews from a lot of people that have played her. Unless you're Chris Bootman, who, if it's any tech card, like I love you, Chris. I love doing Saban Eagle with you, but you have a huge soft spot for one-cost tech cards. Howard. In addition to Ghost, he loves Howard. He loves Ghost, not Ghost Spider, Ghost, while also loving Echo so far. And look at that; they're all 1/2 tech cards. I think he just has a soft spot for that kind of aspect of the game, or maybe he's enlightened.
Maybe he is. I tried playing the Echo very aggressively. It took me an hour and 10 minutes to get my clip of a single game of Echo being impactful.
Yeah.
And then in terms of Ghost, I'm actually enjoying a lot more success. But yeah.
Just real quick, I do want to say, for people that immediately come out and say things like Howard, Echo, like these type of cards, right? Because I think they're all very similar in terms of their impact level for two reasons. Because A, they're niche tech cards, and B, it's hard to quantify the impact level because it's like Iceman tenfold. You really don't see the impact level of them because it's all about your opponent being forced to play around certain things. And then, of course, the information that Howard gives, for example, kind of same thing. Like, did that matter? Did it not? That kind of thing. So I think when people come out and say Echo is really bad, Ghost is really bad, don't get this card. Well, I think it's probably correct in the sense that you shouldn't spend 6,000 tokens on these type of cards, especially in the economy in its state now.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit heavy-handed and a bit incorrect to say the reason you shouldn't get these cards is because they're bad, not because of the economy and the value that they represent. Because it's so hard to quantify what the impact of these cards are because the unknown is just as important as the known for these types of effects. And you can't definitively say one way or the other, Echo's a bad card. Echo could be an amazing card, and I think that she has the possibility to be that. Same thing with Ghost. It's just, you never tell. It's like you're saying you want to get a clip on it. Well, how many games did you play that you unknowingly stopped them from playing a card? Maybe they had a Darkhawk in hand or something like that, and they determined the best line of action was to go with a different route, and you never knew they had that card in hand.
Yeah, I think it was a couple times, honestly, over the course of an hour. But again, it doesn't translate into a clip that I can use for content.
Exactly.
So I think I enjoy Echo just fine. I think I come down on her as like upper Series 3, maybe a Series 4 value in terms of like the game economy. If we're rating things like Series 5 should be the best and most expensive, which take it as you will if how you like that system. But I would like to see Echo releasing as S4, maybe Mirage as S5, in fact, with how interesting she is. But shouldn't say too much on cards that I haven't gotten my hands on.
Yeah, I'm excited about Mirage. Let me tell you that.
Very excited for Mirage. And, that variant in the cache. If I was ever going to chase a variant in the cache.
And even more exciting.
She's so clean.
We're not going. We may have an announcement next week on the next episode on who's going to be talking Mirage with us. So I guess stay tuned for that. Look at that! It's an announcement of an announcement. I'm so good at this. You
got the teaser trailer to the trailer. So. Do we want to say anything more about Living Tribunal, guys? Like, play Living Tribunal. If you
give it a try,
wanted to, this is your shot. I am putting up a consistent stat line of 32 points per lane. or about 30 per lane, which is very much a winning stat line in the meta. Yes, you're giving your opponent in many games Magic, so their score lines will also be inflated. But this deck just thrives in those final turns. You're able to turn what looks like abysmal situations into dubs. And it is pretty consistent with the combination of Jubilee Magic. It's more consistent than you might think. Magic really turned it from a clunky junk, I got to combo 6s and 5s together, to it's smooth. I just play Iron Man on 5, I play Onslaught on 6, I play Living Tribunal on 7, and it just works. It just works. So I think it's great. And if you enjoy the Wombo combo styles of decks, this one is very fun. You even get the Cosmo. It's a little bit of control, and you've got plenty of protection for yourself. So I feel almost like I'm playing solitaire. My opponent's over there with that Phoenix Force deck. He's like, I'm running the combos. I'm playing my move cards. I'm moving my cards. I'm destroying my cards. I got the Phoenix Force. I got him. I know I'm comboing all this into the right position to be able to Heimdall. And I'm just like, and I play one card. It's Iron Man. I played another card. It is Onslaught. This is all under Invisible Woman. He doesn't know what's happening. Oh, I top decked Living Tribunal. I snapped. Living Tribunal.
Very cool. And if you really like the Wombo combo kind of decks, there is the version that we saw before, of which it was Living Tribunal combined with Hela. Come on.
Yes.
Come on, you fucker. Hop on here.
I feel like
girl.
this deck takes over against that. Well, so I think Hela will actually love Magic, right? Any deck that was before inconsistent but had a ceiling above other decks, that's happy to go the extra turn and say, my power generation will still beat you, but now gets more consistently turn 7 to more consistently find the combo it needed, is going to be very happy. Hela has the extra inconsistency of sometimes she just gets discarded herself.
Yeah.
So there's like that you still have to juggle with Hela.
If you want that dopamine hit, though, if we're high rolling Hela.
Yes, the ceiling on Hela is so good. And I think Magic is going to help her.
Well, let's talk about Magic. If we're going to finish off your segment of anything, we talk about Magic a little bit on the other half, right? But I think we talk about the meta impact of Magic, right? The impact that Magic can have across all these different decks in terms of how is it going to shape out the meta itself. But I think what I'm interested in this idea is, where do you think Magic can go in terms of decks maybe built around her? I can give you one example real quick, is the Infinite deck that I like a lot with the She-Hulk kind of thing going on. I think it's very happy to have Magic earlier as opposed to being a later card. And it honestly maybe makes, what's it called, a bit redundant, maybe not unnecessary, a Psylocke now. Yes, you're relying a bit more on Magic at that point, but, you know, it is what it is. And before, one of the dream lines before Magic's original state was turn 3 Psylocke, turn 4 Magic, turn 5 Shuri, float, and then Infinite She-Hulk was amazing. But now that's just a curve. You just go turn 3 Magic, turn 4 Shuri, and like if you have a Sunspot stuff down, you just go float, and then do that. That seems dumb. And I've already
float. Oh, this guy over here, float. I love it. But it's true. It's true.
You can go Sunspot Armor, and then Magic Shuri, float 5 and 6, and just gain 11 power to your armor lane, and then go ahead and just drop down an Infinite somewhere and a doubled She-Hulk. And I guess sometimes it's also worth just going double Infinite and She-Hulk in the same lane kind of thing if you really need to. But man, where do you think what decks or brews have you thought of for like Magic?
Yeah, so I think everybody's eyes is going to be on Magic Surfer. And everybody who's played in the beta is like, well, Sarah Magic is back, baby. That was in every single deck for about a season, and then they changed Magic to be unplayable on 6, and that broke up the combo. They had to split ways, but now she's just back again. Like, you can run Sarah Magic Negative. That was top of the meta before. You can run Sarah Magic Surfer. All of these decks that want to be able to kind of bloat the building out around 3 costs and 4 costs, and even a couple 5s interspersed, with the Sarah discount and then going for 2 turns and giving you that extra splash of energy on turn 7, it opens up so much. You can fully disguise what your deck is. and then drop everything on these final turns and shock the opponent. Just Sarah control. I think every version of Sarah loves Magic, honestly, except for the Sarah Miracle that wanted to gas itself out on that turn 6. Everything else, like Sarah control, loves Magic, because Magic forces the opponent to start tipping their hand to their big pieces, so you can line up control much more easily on turn 7 than turn 6.
Yeah, I think there's so many options with Magic, and I'm sure there's ones that I'm not even thinking of in terms of like.
All right, so the next one is Devil Dino. Devil Dino, because he can keep on generating cards, is really good. You're always going to have a big hand size. You can bring back the White Queen, which had often been cut. Just take the opponent's best card. You've got the energy efficiency of Quinjet. You could play every single card that Nick Fury gives you if you have Quinjet now and Magic together. It's obscene what this deck is able to do, and you're able to then have this insane X factor. The opponent's not expecting all of this, but you just have gas for days into the final turns. And Devil Dino himself is late game champ. You have Cosmo that likes to play in that deck, can protect Limbo and protect Devil Dino. He can do double duty there. That, I think, is going to be the most winning Magic decks are going to be ones that can incorporate Cosmo to give you the assurance that Limbo survives, and then you get a double use of him in Living Tribunal, he's protecting the Living Tribunal, and Devil Dino, he's protecting the Devil Dino, stuff like that.
And we're not even talking about the thing we were alluding to earlier with the Legion stuff with all that. So
yeah, Legion gives you yet another dimension, and it means that you get to play on a board that's going to be completely level. You get to cancel out all location effects, which there's plenty of decks and players that are actually just going to enjoy that.
Yeah, and I still think the idea of being able to play doesn't have to be the exact server thing I was alluding to with like Rhino and like Storm, that kind of thing. But just a deck that runs those kind of effects, maybe even a Thanos list that runs Magic now, because now you have that little back pocket Reality Stone. Oh, I'm gonna turn it off. Like, just that aspect of it is going to be so interesting. I think
100%. I think Thanos Death actually really likes the extra turn. Yeah. And they're like, I found my combos. We then cancel Limbo. I didn't find my combos. Turn 7's coming, and I finally hit the null, because it has so much card draw. It can be inconsistent in the early to mid game, but by the late game, it does even out. And by an extended game, I think Thanos might actually come out ahead in terms of thinning the deck. And it'll want something to destroy the stone, so you don't just have like clutter by the final turn. But even junk decks running Magic, you're like, oh, I filled your entire board, and now you're way ahead of me, but I have extra time, and you have no board space. So
being able to really leverage things like Valkyrie and stuff like that to kind of pull ahead. Yeah, I really like this idea of just again Magic. This Magic change may be the most impactful balance change since launch, since global release.
Since changing her to not be effective on turn 6?
Yeah, since the other Magic change.
Yeah. It's true. I'm trying to think of like what else would there be. There were some cards that got murdered way back in the beta, but for the 2 Magic changes, because she was absolutely the top of the meta. It was Magic Sarah everywhere, and then she was changed. And then since then, maybe the Shuri change is the only thing that comes close.
I think this is even more so impactful than any of the changes that we see in terms of nerfs, okay? Because the nerfs, while bringing down the power level of a lot of these decks, still makes it so that like a form or then of another of those decks still exist, right?
That's true.
Like even the example of like the Sarah Magic thing, right? You can no longer do it on turn 6, and maybe that you don't no longer play Magic in that Sarah deck, but Sarah decks still existed. Decks that want to utilize Magic still existed. Zabu decks still existed. Shuri decks still existed. Have we yet to see an update like this, which has the potential to completely flip the meta up on its head in an instant?
I don't think that, in terms of like the broad application of this card, probably not. In terms of like broad application of the card, most plug and play card otherwise might be like Kitty's release, but that's like a new card coming into the game. This is an old card getting updated into just wild increase in power, and I'm absolutely here for it.
I'm curious, man. I'm wondering like if this is something they end up reverting or making a tweak of like, oh, she's a 4/2 now or something. Like I'm really curious because then they also said they were gonna in the next patch make it so that she can be played on turn 6. It's just her on reveal is disabled, which I think I'm a fan of.
Which is a flexibility update that I think people have been wanting for a long time. Any deck that's running Magik while a niche scenario has been handcuffed on the final turn for wanting that power, but then not even being able to play her. Yeah, especially like the negative version when you drew a 5 power 3 cost Magik and you're like turn 6, I can't do it.
Yeah, or in Cerebro, previously Cerebro 3, sometimes I'd be like, my best play was to drop Magik, and then like I had a 1 something, right?
Cerebro 2 is the gods.
So Cerebro 2 is an interesting thing with Magik because now they have another way to change locations. Before it was only Storm.
Storm on one later, they have Magik on the other. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Now that they're pulling even in terms of Cerebro 3 and in terms of lane... Well, actually, no. Now they're pulling ahead because before it was... in Cerebro 3, it was Scarlet Witch, Rhino, and Magik. Now they're losing Magik. Magik's going... So now they're pulling even, okay? And basically 2 each. Here's the difference, though. Cerebro 2 still has yet to introduce a card that can change the monster.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just that is the monster that is the bane of their existence. Cerebro 3 can at least Valkyrie the monster and still get the buff everywhere.
The monster sucks. It does. You can. Okay, it's technically possible. You can eat it with Carnage, reset the Carnage with it's really hard. You can eat it with Carnage, reset
Why
the
are you playing Carnage?
With Shadow King, and then move Shadow King.
Why are you playing Shadow King?
So that you can reset it down to 2, and then you have to hit it with like maybe it's not possible. Hit it with a Yellow Jacket.
Oh my god, that's so fucking convoluted.
Yeah, you don't do that, but
okay, possible, sure, but probable, very unlikely.
Not at all.
Because even that scenario that you just painted needs a lot of setup to happen, and then you're running those ugly. 3 cards specifically to counter the one-time monster appears in your 10-game run.
It's very ugly.
Yeah,
I have seen some very interesting ideas on C2s using the Yellow Jacket and then actually not using. It's very aggressive to not run the Loot Cage, but then use Yellow Jacket to reset a couple 3 costs that you think are going to be valuable enough to elevate your game. But Cerebro, so it's a tangent, but in terms of like card designs across all card games, I think Cerebro is one of the cleverest.
Yeah.
To have an archetype that's built around dragging in cards of 1 power entirely, and you can deck build at all these different power levels, and every time a new card, it potentially alters this archetype. I think it's just a brilliant idea, and it has a cult following in Snap, and I think it's brilliant.
It's a very clever one, I agree with that, but it's also one I would hate to be a massive fan of because it feels like every single time an update happens or an OTA happens, I just see one person going, my Cerebro whatever deck, it's ruined! In this update, it was the Cerebro 3 players being like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So I don't really pity them, though. I think Cerebro 2 already had some legs. It's just I preferred Cerebro 3 if I were to play that deck because of its interaction with locations as well as the monster being both very powerful.
The Valkyrie and the Shang-Chi control accessibility is so good.
And but Professor X being able to lock down a thing. Jeff is in C3 to go with the Professor X thing. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested in it. But yeah, that's Magik. That's Bounce. That's all these cards. It's Living Tribunal. If you could leave today, to end on a very beautiful note, Teddy, what card are you the most excited for? Not maybe even just for your own sake of like build-arounds and decks you can enjoy playing, but in terms of other people's enjoyments, cards that you want to see get played more, and now they have the chance to, or even if it's just saying, I hate playing against Bounce, fuck that deck, that's the most thing I'm excited for. What are you most excited for with this OTA?
I mean, I do love the Spider Ham getting pushed to being more expensive because he feels so bad to play against when he's just like taking these snipes at your deck and you're like, oh, well, now I don't have the combo. I have the combo. Now I don't have the combo. That felt so bad. So having that happen less often is fantastic. And then the Living Tribunal, man, is really fun.
I've had
brought back a spark
too.
Of joy in me when I had been building the old Omega Red Wombo combos, and I'm like, this is that same feeling. It is so much fun. But it's part of that is that it's both Living Tribunal and Magic getting to work together. And there's just so much deck building possibility around Magic. And I do like the mind game of will Limbo remain with how many effects can turn it off. So I think Magic is ultimately my, like, the one that's taken up most of my brain space.
I think deservedly so. I think Magic is the one that has probably the highest ceiling of impact on the meta. Magic also is one that worries me the most. Because
it also has some of the most beautiful variants. Can we talk about those? Shoo! I mean, just the season pass one is absolute fire.
That's my favorite one,
grab
actually.
Stuff for a thumbnail, and I was like, man, Magic variants don't miss.
Even the pixel is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, she's in, like, hell, like, literally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Magic has some amazing variants. And, of course, everyone's favorite Magic variant from what I've talked to is almost always that microphone one where she's slashing them all in a single swoop, which, don't get me wrong, I enjoy. But I really like that Phoenix Force. And honestly, one of the best
My one critique
base
is that the
arts.
sword is really small.
Yeah. Oh, and that
The
variant,
base art of Magic is good.
yeah, I think the one of the best base arts in the game. You know what?
Yeah.
I would say the second best base art in the game. Can you guess what number one is?
Well, the correct answer is Star-Lord because of the Starscape background.
Okay, yes, in the context of an infinite border, but we're saying purely art only, without any effects added on.
I don't know. What are you going to pull for?
I think it's Jane Foster.
Jane Foster?
Yeah.
Jane Foster's a good one. I was going to go for Snowguard.
Snowguard's cool. I get a...
So that one's kind of cheating because it's so many in one.
Yeah, that one reminds me of Brother Bear, the movie with the Native Americans, the animated one, where like one of them transforms to the bear after his.
I've seen it. I've seen it. We were kids at the same time.
No, I know, but some movies like the movie Spirit, I think the one with Matthew Broderick voices a horse. No one remembers that movie when I talk about it. No one ever.
I remember that one.
It is a horrible movie.
That one. We could be friends, Brad. We could be friends.
I'm happy you're my friend today. We can talk about the bad animated movies of the early 2000s in which Matthew Broderick delivered possibly the most horrible voice acting performance in an animated film I've ever seen.
Dinosaur? You watch Dinosaur?
Oh, I love Dinosaur.
Yeah.
The fucking lemurs?
There it is. See, we connect.
Yeah, hell yeah. Dude, the Dinosaur is great. The animation in Dinosaur is almost unsettling the way the style is.
That was like Avatar before Avatar, right? The insane animation budget for a movie that unfortunately flopped. Avatar did incredibly well. I guess that's where the paths diverge.
Dinosaur flopped, unfortunately. There was an old PC game that I had. It was Dinosaur. It was from the Dinosaur movie. Remember when movies would just have like a blanket? Like every single movie always had a game that came with it. Yeah, and one of the mini games was
had a
chess.
Snowboarding ripoff.
Oh yeah, what's it called? What was it's an abbreviation for the snowboarding game. Doesn't fucking matter. Anyway, the dinosaur one was a chess one, where each dinosaur piece was a chess piece, but it had slightly different rules than normal chess. I don't remember the specifics. I just remember it being really fun and very addictive, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever played. I'm so happy right now. God, this is amazing.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, and then, do you agree with me in saying two of the most underrated animated movies of all time came out around the same times, being Atlantis and Treasure Planet?
Yes. In fact, here's the thing: is like for me, I enjoyed them so much, I don't even understand why they're underrated.
They were box office flops, and a lot of people don't watch them.
I like Treasure Planet, especially so good.
Yeah. I think it's an issue of them being.
Road to El Dorado in there as well.
Oh, that
Road
too.
Road to El Dorado
has
might be over Atlantis for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I think Road to El Dorado has the
villain performance.
It does, but I think Road to El Dorado has the thing of it being a bit more of having a cult following, especially a meme following with the internet now. Also, a horny following. Let's be honest.
It's in a renaissance.
Yeah, it's in all of those things. So it's one of those movies where I think it has a bit more legs than the other two. I think Treasure Planet is one that falls behind the most because it is tragic. It's also one of the most visually stunning movies of that time, of for animation, because like the space, the way they it's in that early renaissance of when they started doing the combination of 2D and 3D animations in the same movies.
Yes, like Western animation was close to something great, and then they just went into let's make Toy Story over and over, but worse, basically over and over again. And now I think it's finally coming back with like Puss in Boots and Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse
is
we
can
insane
stylize
animation.
the animation, and so I think we've finally been able to catch up, like to where we could have been if we'd followed in the path of Treasure Planet.
Yeah, I love the idea that you could have different animation styles within the same movie, especially Spider-Verse being able to pull that off so well with the multiverse stuff. Oh man, God, I fucking love movies, dude. Again, my fucking degree is in film or cinematography specifically, so I am a slut for this shit. So we should. I've been trying to convince Chris to do like a pop culture movie podcast. Let's do all three of us just talk shit about movies. Even if it's a monthly, I'll fucking do it. Like, I do not give a fuck. I want to have an outlet to talk about shit like this without basically forcing the listeners of a different game entirely to like be subject to this kind of thing. So I will have to.
It'd be fun.
I agree. But I guess with that, Teddy, this is your side of it. Sign us off. Tell us how beautiful we are.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you guys pick up any of the decks that we've suggested, I hope they earn you many cubes on your climb up to infinite. You can catch us again next week. We're very excited for some future guest stars that we have, and you'll have to let us know in the comments if you have any awesome comment or topic ideas for us to be able to cover. We were really enjoying getting to work with Drew Barry over the greatest snap cards of all time. If you haven't checked out that bracket, you got to go back on my channel to be able to watch that over on Spotify, wherever you choose to enjoy this magnificent podcast. Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.
Bye.
Can't Stop Snapping is a podcast hosted and produced by Brad Saffer and Teddy Ninja, originally created by Michael Thurman.